Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bluddworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today's video is another recap. This is the Season 1, Session 7 recap of my AD&D First Edition Greyhawk campaign. This one I entitled Return to Westburn because the main focus of the player characters is to return to where they first got their directions for their adventures, and also to heal up two of the characters who were nearly killed, and so they need a total of 5 and 7 days of uninterrupted bed rest. And then most of the party, all but one, the paladin, are ready for leveling up, or they were ready for leveling up. They have since then. So let me just show you a few things as they got there, and talk a little bit about some of their discoveries, some of their contacts that they had made, and then their potential next steps. Now, for any of my players actually watching this, you are going to get a couple of little teasers for Monday night's games. So really looking forward to that as well. So without further ado, one thing just as a DM's tip kind of thing to include. So this is one of the first campaigns that I've decided that I am going to really keep track of what is going on, and so I grabbed a binder, simple 1 inch binder. Hopefully it lasts for a while, and what I did here was I included a section on the campaign overview. Obviously, the very first part is just going to hold all the character sheets that of the current players. That will be followed by a roster of the PCs, and so that's here ready to go to put them inside their sleeves here. Then the current adventure. So I have the current map of the adventure that they're working on, and as I go, I obviously highlight it and then cut and paste. You've seen that before. The current adventure. So here is In Search of the Unknown. Very, very modified. So in case anyone thinks that, oh, they can just go and grab a hold of the adventure and read ahead, that's not going to give them very much information at all. Essentially, I'm using the map, and even then, I can very easily change the configurations of the map as well. Put a landslide in here or there. World building. So I have a section on world building. So as they continue their adventures, I am going to continuously create this roster of NPCs that they can encounter. I will create maps of the main towns that they've gone into, and what I'm going to do is when I do bring them into a town, I am going to have them be there for a little bit. So it's not like they're just popping into a place and then moving on. I'm going to try to make their travels, very purposeful, and so that way the amount of time that I'm dedicating to developing these towns, they will become kind of semi hubs for the players to stay in for quite some time, and then as any really good campaign should do, no matter how long they last, you should always find a way to bring the player characters back to the very beginning location. And so they will make a return to Westburn, probably many, many levels, from now. They will make their return back there. But currently they're in this region, and so they're going to be here for quite some time. I included the rogues gallery so that I can very quickly create some NPCs for them to encounter. And then I have the section on the session notes. So this is where I put all of the session notes. And the way that I introduce each session is I have an image of the characters that were present. Excuse me. Excuse me. So session one was these 9 characters, and then a recap, just a written notes session of that. This was some of the modifications of the adventure that they went on, and then just a tally of the experience and gold and such that they gained. These are the actual, the actual notes that I took during the actual gameplay. So here is session 2, and session 2 had a total of 10 players. This is the map that they uncovered so far. This is the scratch pages for that particular, and so on and so on. Then finally I have a section here for notable NPCs, which I haven't started populating yet, because they haven't really, they've made contact with their first contact, which is kind of the intermediary between themselves and their patron. They have not met their patron, so the first 2 characters that I'm going to put into this special NPCs are those 2 characters. So once that's done, it will be there. And then I have a section here for the dearly departed PCs. Now, these are as of now, 4 characters that were in the group at some time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep their character sheets rolling, because I do anticipate this adventure or this campaign to last for many, many months, if not several years. And being that it's a first edition game, the player characters are going to obviously gain levels somewhat fast. So they just leveled up to level 2, most of them. And that is after eight sessions of play. So now as we continue going on, and that's 8 weekly sessions of play. So as we go moving forward, and as they go up in level, obviously it's going to take much, much longer for them to go up those levels. I'm going to have to bring up the level of, of the level of experience that they gain, and so maybe it'll balance out. But I'm pretty happy with there being anywhere from 8 to 10 or 12 sessions in between each leveling up. And so, really planning for this to be the long haul. So I want to keep a running record of the player characters that they've encountered along the way, that have joined the campaign or dropped off for whatever reasons. And we'll see how long the core obviously lasts. And it is a large group. It's still 9 players, with 9 characters. No one's lost their character yet, although there have been 2 very close calls. And I like to keep track of these former characters because it's part of the overall story. So when they do make that return back to Westburn and start talking about their adventures from first level to 14th or 16th or wherever it's going to take us, I'll go back to this and kind of do like that, do you remember when kind of thing. And I know one of the players was actually, you should do like a slideshow, where I'm just bringing up those characters because I have all their images and everything, and just bring them up and see who remembers them and who actually adventured with them. So it puts it into a kind of part of the story that's being told, and it's a it's meant to be a very long experience for the players, and so I think it'll be a really cool thing for them to be reminded of some of these characters that they might have only adventured with for one session, but I think that it'll stand out and it'll be appreciated. So that's another reason why I'm doing that. So let's go to our recap. So the recap here, as I said, they returned to Westburn, and I used a program to create this map, and it was all 8 players. I'm sorry, 9 players. All 9 players were present for this particular interlude, I'll say, and they met with their patron's aid, and they started to pick up some more information about who they're working for and what they're supposed to be doing with Queskatan, and the fact that they have to return. The fact that their patron wants them to return because they do have some unfinished business. So going through the characters, and I believe they're up here in alphabetical order. So we have the Almeric, the Grey Elf fighter, magic user. He went up a level in fighter. Magic user will come a little bit later, probably in the next session or so. The Ranger Angus, he went up a level, so he became 2nd level Ranger. Breeze, the Elf Cleric, he went up to 2nd level. Cedric, the Magic User, went up 2nd level. Ennis, the fighter, he went up to 2nd level. And if you recall, Ennis was the first of the characters to get seriously injured and nearly killed. Candius, the human paladin, is still awaiting 2nd level, although I believe he is very close, probably within a couple of 100 experience points, so he will be ready by the next time. And I am going to hold him to the cost of leveling up. That means the monetary cost, the gold pieces that it requires, and also the training period. So I think that they really appreciated the fact that holding to those particular rules about inter-adventure time frames is another thing that I think is important when you're running a first edition or an old school style of play game. That way they really see what it was meant to be like. I think it does give the world a lot more of a real feel to it. So continuing on, Crandon, the Halfling Thief, who also was nearly killed in the last session, he is going to recover and then train to 2nd level. Mirador, the Human Cleric, going up to 2nd level. Sparrow, the Elf Druid, she's a half-elf druid. She is going up to 2nd level as well. So everyone has kind of leveled up, or with the exception of one of the 2 parts of Almeric's character build, and the human paladin, Candrius, has not leveled up yet. So what I did was I kind of came up with some notes from their last session, and just going to reiterate these so that it'll refresh their minds as well, because I know my players will watch this video and hopefully comment, on it. And I'm going to give a couple of reveals here for them to for them to hear for the first time as well. So I'm going to switch views here. So once they returned to Westburn, they met with they were met by their contact. All right, and their contact is Gavrak Ongrek, and it was Sparrow, the druid, who was the first to pick up on, just based on my description of his hands, the fact that he was very shrouded in mystery and wearing a cloak, and his face was partially covered and his hands were wrapped, but they could see his fingers, and they were able to determine just by my description that he was a mongrel man. And I was really surprised, because really all I described was the fact that he had 3 fingers on one hand that appeared to be, very similar to that of a goblin, and then the rest were either human or halfling, and he's fairly small in stature, less than 5 feet tall. So I wanted to make it kind of difficult for them to really put their thumb on it, and she picked it up right away. It was like, I think he's a mongrel man. All right, and so I was really happy with that. That the group as a whole seemed very perceptive to the various things that I'm not revealing to them directly. So and again, that comes from their experience, and also just how well they're really playing together. So really exciting stuff to last so far 8 weeks in this, not including the 2 weeks or so of session zeros. So really we're close to 10 weeks with this campaign. So although Monday is actually our 8th session together. So let's continue. So after studying the books, because they had acquired about 20 books that they removed from Quescaton, and instead of selling them off, which actually proved to be very important for them not to have done, because they picked up some additional information that they wouldn't have gotten ahead of time. They confirmed that there's a wizard's library, and that the Fighter Lord's trophy room was certainly a place that was there. So and that was part of the encouragement for them to return, was that they're specifically going back to Quescaton now to discover the library. They were tipped off that the library does have a guardian, and they have to go to the library or the wizard's laboratory, I should say, or his private quarters, to retrieve his journals. So they're going there to get Zelagar's journals. That's the main thrust of their adventure and the reason why they're there. They also confirmed that, or had it confirmed for them, that there is in fact an enchanted stone whose chips of the stones, if put into their mouths, would bestow some magical properties, but not wishes. So that was clarified, because they had the rumor that if you ate the chips, you would be granted a wish. No, they do grant magical properties of some kind. Other than that, it's unknown. The player characters learned that Zelabar is was the apprentice of a very powerful magic user, and that he himself was a very powerful magic user as well, because the fact, and the players kind of knew that, because he was building a stronghold along with the fighters. So they knew that they were at least 9th level, if not higher, for them to start to create their own stronghold. And so the players already knew that. They also know that the library was still contain some secrets. So that was some of the information that they picked up from their contact and also from their reading of the books. And they're already aware of that. Next, we go and so they were encouraged to go back to Questcatan to continue looking for additional information. So now the player characters are given an invitation or like a letter of introduction to go to each of their respective trainers, and so that was already dealt with them as well. So they go and they met, and I won't take up too much time just going over all of these. I'll just let you know that they did each meet their trainers, and those that went up in level, and the paladin still met with his trainer, but he was not quite prepared to go up in level. Now this session alone, just the fact that they went through it, I give 50 experience points per hour of gameplay, and then a bonus based on whatever they managed to do as a surprise to me. So anytime that they really surprised me with their ingenuity or just the amount of fun that's being at the table or whatever, I give them bonus experience points for that. Not necessarily like role playing, but role playing also is something that I would reward as well. But I value smart play and collaborative and cooperative play amongst the players, and any time that they do something that takes me by surprise and I'm really happy to see, I'm certainly giving extra points for that as well. So their total session, they acquired 300 experience points from. So continuing on, let's see what else. Yeah, so they correctly identified their contact. So this is some news for them now. So this is in preparation for the return to Questcatan. You've been trained. Two of the players actually requisitioned from the armor smith there in town 2 suits of plate mail, one for the elf and one for the human. Others stocked up on or requisitioned silvered weapons and arrows. So this is something that the players just felt when they heard Guardian. They started thinking, well, we can't buy magic weapons, but we should at least have silvered weapons. And so they started to requisition silvered weapons. The magic users both jointly transcribed and studied new spells rather than selling off the rare but mundane books. They decided to keep them and continue to look through those books and some additional discoveries. So this is first time my players are hearing this. Having expressed an interest to keep and study those books, Cedric, the magic user, stumbled upon very interesting scrap of parchment stuck inside of one of the many books. The book itself was entitled Historic Schools of Magic of the Flanaeus. I always have a hard time saying that word. I want to say Falanus, and it's Flanaeus. The excerpt mentions the Ring of Five and the connection between Zeligar as an apprentice to one of its members. If that is truly the case, then Zeligar was the apprentice of one of the most powerful archmages in all of the Flanaeus. Oh, I cannot say that word. I'm gonna have to ask Joe to tell me how he actually says it. So I'm gonna have to listen to one of his videos or just have him jump online one time and just say, no, this is how I've been saying it, because I trust the Greyhawk Grognard better than I can pronounce things. Now, so this is their potential discoveries, right? So again, Zelagar might have in fact been the apprentice of one of the most powerful archmages in all of the world of Greyhawk, and that archmage was one of the members of the Ring of Five. So that's a major thing that I know is going to get them really fired up and looking forward to Monday night's game, because they already had some inklings that they were involved in something bigger than what it seemed. And they already started piecing together that, hey, if this guy is a really powerful, Zelagar is a really powerful wizard, then his master had to be at least an archmage. All right, so they were already putting that together, and they were questioning how their contact knew certain things about them, and they even mentioned, well, perhaps they're scrying. Cedric, the magic user, was debating whether or not this whole adventure is a test being run by Zelagar, and he can still hold on to, that belief, because they still don't know anything for sure. But a lot of their suspicions, you know, have a logical root to them, and so it'll be a lot of fun to see how this plays out for them, and it'll be a lot of fun for me as a dungeon master to to see where their thinking is going, and to make modifications to sometimes reward them with correct answers that they'll find out that their assumptions were correct, or other times send them in just the wrong direction, just to see how they respond to that as well. So again, to my players, I thank you all, so much, because you've made it so much fun to continue creating this campaign along with you in many cases, and in other cases, just I give you enough information for you to choose maybe amongst a couple of different routes to go, and then just follow along and see where you take that portion of the story before I start setting up the next grouping. So I know I've had people say there's the you want to create the illusion of choices, and I don't quite believe that that's what you should be doing. You should be creating choices, but you're still the one creating the choices, and then let the players choose amongst those particular choices. The best analogy I ever heard, and I debated about this a couple of times whether or not I would say it this way, because I don't want it to be taken the wrong way, but it's like when you want to give your child something that you want them to wear, let's say. So you want to lay out shoes for them, and you're going to lay out 3 different shoes. Now, you chose all 3 pairs of shoes. You don't really care too much which ones, which pair of shoes your child is going to wear. But you put out the 3, and then you tell the child, hey, listen, I'm going to let you choose which shoes you're going to wear today. And so when the child chooses the red shoes, let's say, then she's going to feel like she made the choice. And you do kind of the same thing as a dungeon master with your players. I'm not equating them to children, all right? But what I'm saying is that you're giving them choices within the parameters of where you want the campaign to sort of go. So it's not a railroad. It's a railroad that can kind of snake and turn, and maybe branch off here, but eventually get back to the main line or whatever. So it's not railroading. It is not an absolute sandbox. It is somewhere in between, where the dungeon master, or game master if you prefer, is really the master of the master of the game rules that are being used, master of the campaign and what direction the campaign is going to move ultimately in, and master of the world setting that the players are in. And none of that really takes away from the player agency, because they are still making those in the moment decisions, and then you are, as the GM, more so like responding to them, and then trying to think of ways to, yes, let them explore this, and then somehow bring them back to the campaign storyline that you ultimately want them to move in. So once again, really enjoying this campaign. Really enjoying the group of players that that have come together and now seem to be really meshing with each other well, and really looking forward to what lays ahead as they start to gain in more power and start to move further and further along, and start to face some really significant challenges as they go along, as I kind of semi-planned going forward quite a bit. So hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section. If you hadn't subscribed, please consider subscribing, and hit those alert buttons so that you see when the new videos come up. I know this one's a little bit late. I had such a busy work week and tons of traffic, so I Thursday night when I got there, I was just like, I just can't do it. So this one will go up as soon as I'm done recording it, and then we will be back hopefully to our regular schedule, Monday night games and Thursday night recaps. Thanks for joining. Have a great rest of your weekend. Stay safe out there, and I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime soon. Have a great day.